Okay, let's kick it off here on a Tuesday. Thanks for joining us. Longshore McKnight here, presented by Bud Light. It is, as I mentioned, Tuesday. I am in my home studio. Barry, I believe, is in Athens today. I believe I heard him say that yesterday, as the Trojans and the Bulldogs are going at it later.
Yeah, this afternoon, as a matter of fact, Troy in Georgia at 2 o'clock Central Time. At another hotel room. If anybody's keeping track, and there's no reason why you should, this is 4 different shows in 4 straight shows in 4 different locations in 4 different places, 4 different states. And tomorrow I'll be back at my home studio, so that'll be 5 states, 5 shows from Lexington, Kentucky to Huntington, West Virginia, to Greenville, South Carolina yesterday, to Athens, Georgia today, and back in Troy, Alabama tomorrow. That's a week's worth of programming on 10% of all the states in the United States of America for me.
It's pretty impressive. I was thinking Troy needs to work up some deal with a hotel chain. And you stay at that chain, one of the many brands that are under that chain, wherever you travel. And when you check in, you give them your little membership card, and they start racking up the number of nights that you stay in these particular hotels. And at the end of the year, you're probably like something like a titanium member. When you have some time off, you'll have some free hotel rooms to go use. That's how I think about it. Wow. Here's a way to get some free nights.
I would have done that. I have checked that out, and they said no, because you're a member of a group rather than making it on your own reservation. The guy who does make our reservations for basketball, baseball, and all that, he's got airline points, he's got hotel points, he's got Chipotle points. I mean, the guy is racking up. They can go to like Puerto Vallarta this summer for free if they want to. So you've got that. You got baseball this afternoon, and then I'm headed back tonight finally. And here on this Tuesday show, got plenty of guests coming up today.
Oh, yeah.
Plenty of them today. It should be a lot of fun. And we're going to talk a little college football. It's going to be a part of the program. So go ahead and get yourself ready for that.
Yeah, usually happens. Brian Matthews, auburnsports.com, will join us at the bottom of hour number 1, as he usually does on Tuesdays. Travis Reier will kick off hour number 2, Talking Tide. And, of course, Reier on YouTube. And then, of course, at the bottom of hour number 2, Tom Luganbill will join us. He is with us, each and every week during the football season. But we wanted to get a spring football wrap-up with Luganbill, and he'll do that with us at the bottom of hour number 2 today.
Well, the story of the day may be nationally the one that the one that you probably need to know about, and it's in college football.
Oh.
We mentioned back in the winter, when the transfer portal was going on, the number 1 rated transfer quarterback in the country was from the University of Cincinnati. His name's Brendan Sorsby. And he went into the portal, and immediately he went to Texas Tech, like that day.
Man,
it was as though Texas Tech had gotten in touch with him before, they were supposed to, or something like that. Well, Brendan Sorsby, he's one of the top 6 picks, one of the top 6 quarterbacks projected in the draft next year. Pretty good player, didn't know much about him. Well, he has now taken a leave of absence from Texas Tech University while he checks into a residential treatment program for a gambling addiction. According to sources, his decision to seek treatment came in the wake of the discovery of Sorsby making thousands of online bets on a variety of sports via a gambling app, which the NCAA says could affect his eligibility.
I think so.
With Texas Tech. The NCAA is investigating his gambling. NCAA forbids athletes from betting on both college and pro sports. He bet on Indiana football when he was redshirting at Indiana as a freshman in 22. You definitely can't do that. It's not drawn attention of law enforcement or anything like that. I mean, nothing like that. But sources say his gambling was a steady flurry of small bets over a long period of time. Thousands of bets, John.
Yeah.
Just by that.
Sure. It's very easy to do, particularly if it's on an unregulated site. I'd be interested to know where he was actually placing these bets. And we've talked a lot about that. And that's been a big topic of conversation. Well, even right here in the state of Alabama about having regulated sports wagering. And there's a huge difference in that. I don't want to get into all that this morning because we have so many other things to talk about, but I would be interested to see that.
I'm just
there's been, thousands. Yeah, you got a problem. There's no doubt. That's a key word. Thousands. You've heard me talk about it a lot. You ain't got to bet the sheep. Find one or two, go for it, have a little fun with it. But I hate to hear this for this young man. It's going to happen. And there's people out there that can't handle it, just like they can't handle liquor or they can't handle cigarettes or marijuana or food or sex.
Yes.
Not to say that it's right, but it's going to happen.
It's funny because the piece I was just reading from is from ESPN. ESPN has a gambling site.
Yep.
A gaming site, ESPN Bets. In the wake of the 2018.
Actually, Barry, just to be clear, they actually dissolved that. There's no such thing as ESPN Bets anymore. They actually use DraftKings. It's interesting. If you go to the ESPN site and just look up the schedule, like for the NBA tonight,
right,
and on the far right, it'll say DraftKings. The logo is there. So they made some deal with DraftKings. I'm sure there's a lot of money involved. But there's no such thing as ESPN Bets anymore. I wondered about that, but obviously money talks, and DraftKings wanted to be a part of it.
In the wake of a 2018 Supreme Court decision, sports wagering is now allowed in 39 states and Washington, D.C. 39 states.
39 states.
One of them is not the state of Alabama.
Shock.
Gambling advertising and coverage, once considered taboo, is now everywhere. There are, even if there's not a gambling site, there is prediction outlets, CNN, Fox, CBS, ESPN, others, and all of that. So how do you legislate that if you're the NCAA? Because, I mean, all he did was pull out his phone, sitting on a bus or sitting and make a bet, pull out another one, make another one, all that kind of stuff. Something that thousands of people do thousands of times every day. It's not the first one we've heard like this, but there's nothing they can do about it, right?
My first thought about it, Barry, is this was an unregulated site, because if he's making thousands of wagers, they would have flagged that. That would have caught their eye a long time ago, and they would have either closed the account, limited it, something of that nature. That goes back to the regulated part that we've talked about before.
Right.
So that's my first thought about it. And you're right. There's no doubt. I mean, 40 years ago, 30 years ago, 20 years ago, you couldn't do that. You couldn't get on your phone and instantly wager. You certainly couldn't wager as freely on this guy's going to throw a pass on the next play.
Oh, my gosh.
That type
that's all
stuff.
Over the place. That's a great
to me, that's a little extreme. I have no interest in that. I guess I'm old-fashioned. I mean, I just like the old way. It's similar to a casino. You walk onto a casino floor and you walk through there and go, wait a minute, I've never seen that game before. They're always putting new games in the casino. And I'm thinking, no, I have no interest in that. I'm the old school guy. Just give me some dice and some cards, and that's all I need. But it's ever evolving and ever changing. And personally, for me, it's a little bit too much. But I don't run these things.
So it ain't like, like the 50s when you read about and you heard about where, people are point shaving and shadowy figures and Moose and Rocco off in the background involving players and all of that colluding to, fix games or shave points. It's just one guy doing what hundreds and thousands of people do every day, shaving points. John, the NCAA could get him, but they ain't going to get. This is a problem you can't solve.
Yeah,
this is all the NCAA can do is just kind of cross their fingers and, hey, really, don't do it. Come on now, let's not do that. So
yeah,
something to watch for
yeah,
sure. And the regulation
of
it, I think John's been preaching about regulation. And,
yeah, that's the key. And there's a lot of people in the state of Alabama that are wagering on unregulated sites. And that's another huge problem. That doesn't need to be happening. I know the state is very aware of it, but they're getting pulled in several directions. People that don't want it, people that do want it, unregulated sites that people are taking advantage of. There's, I don't wager over a phone. Never have. I know people that do. That's fine. It's easy. It's convenient. I'm not real sure how they do it. I mean, I've heard stories, Barry, of people just crossing the state line because allegedly your phone will activate once they know it's not in the state of Alabama. And if you live in a town that's close to the border and you can cross the state line, you can go over there and, I guess, sit in the parking lot and wager all you want. That's kind of crazy, but it's the same way with buying a lotto ticket. You can go to Florida, Georgia, or Tennessee and cross the state line, buy you a lotto ticket, go buy cheap liquor in those states compared to what liquor costs here, which I'm very guilty of doing, and lotto tickets too, for that matter.
Guilty is not the right word for that.
But yeah, I mean, the people are doing it. But that's not my cup of tea. There again, I'm a big proponent of the regulated sports wagering in this state, and it isn't going to happen this election cycle. But I can promise you, after everybody gets elected and sworn in next year, you're going to hear about it again. It is going to be a big topic in 2027 here in the state of Alabama. Get ready, it's coming. Other topics that have caught my eye, well, I guess this Braves team that's in this terrible division, I've seen some new names on the River Region Straw chat line. I don't know if these are people that are using aliases just to try to strengthen their point that, oh, look, there are more Braves fans here. I don't believe it. I know all the tricks of the trade. But it's fine. They're coming out of the woodwork. Oh, look, Braves, this, that. Oh, it's okay. Have your fun. Here it is about to be May the 1st at the end of the week. It's okay. I know what's going to happen, but it's okay. Have your fun now.
Yeah. The Braves didn't play last night. They open up a series at home against the Tigers tonight, 6:15 Central Time. Yeah, I'm sure John will be like, why didn't the Braves win yesterday? Needed an off day because they've had so much winning. John, my prediction on April 28th, Alabama will not win the national championship this year. Like
John
your prediction yesterday about the Braves. You see how easy that was?
Barry, John and I don't agree on a lot, but I agree with you on that, John. And as Feinbaum said on our show yesterday, they ain't winning the national championship. And I know what you're saying. Well, then why are they playing? I've asked myself that too. But I guess you got to play. I guess you're contracted to play.
Because that's what you do. Why would you play if you know you're not going to win a national championship?
It's tough.
That's one of the most bizarre things that's ever been said on this program, and it's been said more than once.
I don't
get why a team that's picked last preseason in the American Athletic Conference. Why they even, why they even go out there? What the heck?
It's different. It's not apples and oranges here. I mean, well, it is actually. I mean, it's totally different because, and there are a few. I mean, elite. It's a small, minute group that they only see it one way. Other teams are just, boy, we're going to play so-and-so. I hope we win, or at least give a good effort. Nah, that's not the mindset.
That sounds like fun.
Other schools we better be winning it all. And I think Alabama fans are having to shift and get a different mindset that, you know what? You're not going to win it all. And that's a tough phrase to hear. You're not going to win it all. What? Because there was a 20-year period where they did think they were going to win it all every year. As a matter of fact, there was a 25-year-old period when I was a little kid, and if I heard that, I'd go, what did he say? Heck yeah, we're going to win it all. Back in the 70s and 80s. It's tough. It is tough. They're trying to adapt, but it's a slow process.
You're going to have to just enjoy the football. You're just going to have to go out there and just try to find some value in your team playing the game and trying hard to win and all of that. And
you kind of
we got to watch the game worried about whether or not we're going to win the game.
I would say if they're not going to win the national championship, and I believe most people feel that way, maybe a win against Notre Dame in a college football playoff game wouldn't be as good, but pretty close. If you could beat the Irish in a playoff game and then maybe lose the next week, that was a pretty good year. Beat Notre Dame in round 2 of the playoff. It was great. Well, you beat Auburn at the end of the regular season. So what? Beat Notre Dame in the playoff. Maybe that would ease the pain. Put a little salve on the wound, if you will.
Beating Oklahoma, multiple national champions, multiple Heisman Trophy winners, beating Oklahoma in the college football playoff. That's the quietest win Alabama's had in the postseason since, they beat Oklahoma in the Sugar Bowl one year. John was late to kickoff or something like that.
Yeah, they actually did one year. I forgot about that.
In Athens yesterday, we're driving through on the bus, middle of the day, just got done eating lunch, and the Georgia football team was out there practicing.
Oh, wow.
You could actually, from kind of a raised road over there, I forget what it's called, Dunklin Road or Lumpkin Road. Right by the Georgia practice field, and you can. I was surprised. Number one, that they're out there practicing. It's middle of the day, and you couldn't tell anything. We were only looking at it for like 15 seconds or so. But number two, they do have the little screen on the chain link fence, but you can see over it. I'm thinking, man, they got to be a little hush hush during spring. It was.
Is there spring game Saturday?
Heck, I don't know. I thought it was over. I thought everybody was over.
I mean, they had a Luke Bryan concert in Sanford Stadium Saturday night. I guess they're cleaning all that up so they can make way for the black and red game or the dog game or whatever they call it.
Whatever they got between the Butts-Mehre Heritage Hall, which is their football building, and the practice field, they got some big old huge project going on over there. Big construction project happening over there, which you've always got to have these days in college athletics and college football on the big
you do.
Side.
Keeping up with everybody.
Yeah.
All right. So got a lot of guests lined up. Brian Matthews in about 10 minutes. Travis Ryer on YouTube talking Tide at the top of hour number 2. Tom Luganbill, ESPN college football analyst at the bottom of hour number 2. A lot of news items that have caught my attention as well.
Yes.
That we'll get throughout the day today. But keep the chats coming on our River Region Straw chat line. Easy to do. As I mentioned, I've seen a little Braves chatter on there today, a little giddiness. You can also email us longshoreandmcknight@gmail.com.
He's John Longshore. I'm Barry McKnight. It's Longshore and McKnight in association with Yellowhammer News, presented by Bud Light.
Don't miss your chance to win big at Victoryland Casino. Play the latest, hottest, most exciting games around with fun bonuses and big jackpots. Don't miss out on your free play. Stop by Player Rewards today and check out this month's exciting free play promotions. Come see why our players keep coming back. You'll have more fun at Victoryland Casino, where you can be a winner too. Victoryland Casino, located off I-85 exit 22, Shorter, Alabama. Must be 21 or older.
Hey folks, how often do you think about your roof? Probably not often at all. I know I didn't until I needed a roof replacement. And I call my friends at Roof Life. Whether it's roof inspections, roof repair, or insurance roof replacement, Roof Life is there for you. They use the highest quality products, top quality craftsmanship, and if you're like me, your roof can be replaced in one day. So if you're in need of a roof inspection, roof repair, or insurance roof replacement, get in touch with my friends at Roof Life today. You can go to roofyourlife.com. That's roofyourlife.com, or dial them up locally at 334-306-6712. That's 334-306-6712. Local banking expertise, the newest innovations and technology, personal attention, genuine hospitality. It's all just part of the Riverbank and Trust difference. They invite you to experience it for yourself. Welcome to banking above and beyond at Riverbank and Trust. Locations throughout the river region, locations throughout the state of Alabama. Riverbank and Trust. All righty, welcome back in, everybody. 21 minutes past the hour. Hey, hit that like button. Hit that subscribe button. Go ahead and do it. We appreciate it. Certainly helps out, and we can certainly monitor the show, and we appreciate everybody, the comments that we get. But hit the like, hit the subscribe. You'll get all the notifications, anything that's happening, anything that drops, whether it's on Facebook, YouTube, Instagram, X, Spotify, iTunes. You will find out about it. Of course, our good friends at Yellowhammer News and yellowhammernews.com. We highly recommend you check them out, bookmark them for all the latest news, politics, lifestyle, and sports. You can check us out there at yellowhammernews.com on their Facebook page as well. I know a lot of people do that, and we appreciate that. So keep that going. Hey, Barry, here's a good one. Maybe what you saw over in Athens yesterday, they're practicing driving to avoid the police. You know, they've had some problems over there in Athens with football players getting pulled over.
Over and over. It happened again, a week or two ago. You know, I got to admit, on the bus, some of the guys were referencing that. Hey, we better get this bus out of here. Somebody may be pulling out of practice and T-bone us, or, you know, something like that. And all that. It's a great town. I do like, downtown Athens and all that.
I am, 62 years old. And my wife cannot believe this because she's a Georgia grad. I have never been to Athens ever in my life.
It ain't exactly on the beaten path. I've been to Athens, I never went to Athens in my life, growing up a Gator and all that stuff, and going to the games. It was always in Jacksonville. There was no reason to go to Athens. And I've been, to broadcasting whatever 20 times maybe. And it ain't easy to get to Athens. I never can figure out the SEC. Why do you put an SEC caliber land grant or state flagship university in Starkville, Mississippi, or in Athens, Georgia, or in College Station, Texas, or in Fayetteville, Arkansas, which is just barely even in Arkansas?
It isn't easy to get to Tuscaloosa from Montgomery. Believe me,
Auburn,
I've done it hundreds and hundreds of times, and every time I go, I shake my head going, there's got to be a better way. Got to be a better way to get to Tuscaloosa. But she raves about it. She thinks Athens is the greatest place on earth.
It's a great town. It really is. Downtown is super nice. All these, they let us out, and we got to go eat lunch on our own. All the players are roaming around Athens, and I went and ate at this little hole in the wall Thai food place for lunch. And doing some work and all that kind of stuff. And you get it, and it is nice. It is. But, John, and it's happening. I mean, it's the middle of the day. Classes are letting out and all that kind of stuff. This guy comes, he's walking towards me down on the sidewalk about a block off of campus. And he's a college student. You can tell he's got, college student stuff on. And he sees a buddy of his across the street. And, John, they barked like dogs at each other and laughed. And, these are probably adults. They're probably 21 years old. Hey, whoo, 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 across the street and everything, and they laugh. And any society where the proper greeting among each other, I get, hey, roll tide, hey, War Eagle, Eagle, hey, barking like dogs at each other across a busy thoroughfare. That's unnatural, John. That's Georgia. There's no reason for that. There's no.
Yeah, my wife's, petite young lady, and I've heard her bark like a, 300-pound man. I'm thinking, what are you doing over here?
Yeah, I mean, it's like, it's like Mrs. Crane, when you got the ball washer going and you're Carl Spackler and everything. You both
thinking, what's with the dog barking?
I don't.
It is a way you do. You don't bark like woof woof. It's a unique way of barking.
Big old bulldog.
Yeah. How these dogs do it. So
but I will say this. I've called games there, football games, basketball games, baseball games. I'll call one again this afternoon. I'm like Bill from Baltimore. He's actually thinking where I'd want to go to see Auburn play that I haven't in the SEC yet. I've been to a couple, but I hope to go to Gainesville and Baton Rouge for one soon, thanks to the new schedule. It's one of the reasons why you got the new schedule. Going to Athens would be pretty cool.
Yeah.
Florida plays Georgia in Atlanta this year.
Bill,
it's a good college town.
This conversation kind of came up over the weekend. I didn't bring it up. One of my children did. They talked about Baton Rouge. I've been to Baton Rouge many a time for a football game at night, in the afternoon, but more at night. It's great. I think Baton Rouge is phenomenal. And I've always given this piece of advice. You don't want to go down there all decked out, dripping in your team's colors, unless you want to get harassed or some, people taking some shots at you. Just go in some neutral clothing, enjoy yourself. Now, you go cheer for your team once you get into the stadium, but just the atmosphere and the fanfare around the stadium before the game is really a lot of fun. You can kind of mingle into other people's tailgates. They'll welcome you in. They might say something to you, but once you kind of settle in and they know you're okay, they'll let you have some of their food and drink. And just the atmosphere is electric, particularly at night. I know a lot of people, I hate Baton Rouge. It sucks. Those people are rude. You just got to know how to conduct yourself.
Now, on the other side, and I agree with you. I'm not disagreeing. On the other side of the coin, you got Bob from Pike Road. He says, I was in attendance at the Bama versus UGA blackout game in 2008. The UGA fans were so confident, and Bama put the smackdown on the Bull Puppies. It was a fun game that day. Dixieland Delight in Athens, RTR. Now, I would have to put every penny I had if I was in a betting situation that Bob was not that guy that John just described. Bob was not meek and mild and going about his business. I can imagine Bob from Pike Road was supportive, showing out a little bit.
Bob, I believe that it rained that day. I don't know if it rained during the game, but leading up to the game, it rained pretty hard. Julio had a breakout game against Georgia that night. And I do remember Georgia wore the black uniforms in that game.
I do remember that.
Interesting.
When we come back, Brian Matthews, AuburnSports.com joins us. I am in Athens, Georgia. John is at his home studio. Fourth straight day doing the show on the road in 4 different states.
Unbelievable.
It's Longshore and McKnight in association with Yellowhammer News, presented by Bud Light.
Hey, you want your property looking its very best this spring and summer, and River Region Straw has premium long needle pine straw to make that property pop. You're not buying sticks, stems, or pine cones. You're buying premium long needle pine straw from River Region Straw. Kenny and his staff have access to the best pine straw in the region, full of color that will last all season long. And now River Region Straw has a fourth location in Chelsea on Highway 280 to go along with their locations here in Montgomery, Prattville, and Auburn. No order is too big or too small, from a few bales to an 18-wheeler trailer load. To get your River Region Straw, drop by any of their 4 locations or give Kenny a call or text today, 669-5959. That's 669-5959, and have the best-looking property this spring and summer with straw from River Region Straw.
The Declaration of Deal sales event is on at Stivers, Alabama's #1 volume CDJR dealer. Grand Cherokee's over 11 grand offers 0% for 5 years. Encompasses 5 grand off. Only at Stivers, Chrysler Dodge Jeep Ram. The Declaration of Deal sales event is on at Stivers. New Ram, 16 grand off for 0% financing. And heavy duties, 13 grand off with Ram's 10-year, 100,000-mile limited warranty. Only at Stivers, Chrysler Dodge Jeep Ram.
All right, welcome back in. About 29 minutes to the top of the hour. You know what we do on Tuesdays during this time slot. Our man Brian Matthews, AuburnSports.com, joins us. Brian, good morning. Hope you're doing well.
I'm doing great, guys. Thanks for having me.
First of all, just timeliness. Keldrick Falk going in the NFL draft from Auburn sounds like, I mean, there are probably surer things in the world. John Dog and the Braves, all that. But that feels like a sure thing, Brian.
Yeah, I think he's going to have a long career. He's not just a really good player. He's a great dude on and off the field, works his tail off in practice. He'll do everything right on and off the field for the Titans. I just think it's a great fit there. And he'll be a centerpiece of their rebuilding job, I feel like. And, I think everybody in Auburn's happy for him.
He'll be playing in a cool new stadium as well when the Titans open up their new
nice
facility in a year, I believe it is. That'll be cool.
5 players drafted from Auburn in the draft. That's the most since 2020, I believe. Was talent a problem on those teams that had that is trying to get out of that dry patch right now, Brian?
Not last year. It's not just the 5 players drafted. You look at all the premium players that sign with other top schools around the country in the portal. Coming out of Auburn. So no, that team was very talented last year and vastly underachieved. I think Auburn made some mistakes evaluating the quarterback position and continuing to put Jackson Arnold out there when he clearly was not capable of running this offense. And, that was a big part of it. And just overall offensively, I think that staff just let Auburn down just with the function of it, the toughness of it, just every part of it just really was below par and below standards.
Yeah, I saw a piece as well talking about Auburn in the draft. I believe it was offensive lineman, Brian, that maybe this year they had more than they've had in quite some time, but they've been a drought leading up to the guys that were drafted this year from the O-line.
Yeah, it's been, I think, 6 or 7 years since Auburn's had offensive line drafted. You got to go back longer for a true offensive tackle. That's been an issue going back to Gus's time here, right? Auburn recruiting quality offensive linemen out of high school and developing them into starters. It's just been on and on an issue. I look at the team now and you see some guys that look like they're future starters at Auburn Sinai High School. You look at Connor Liu and Jeremiah Wright, who were both drafted. They were high school signees that came to Auburn and developed into starters. So you see that trend starting to change now, but it's been a big reason why Auburn's been on this 5-year streak of losing seasons.
Well, let's continue on that thought for just a little bit with the verbal commitment of 4-star, 5-star running back Myson Johnson Cook.
Yep.
I remember when Alex Golish got the job, it was a little bit distasteful. He said, we're going to run the P out of the football.
Yep. And he said that 4 or 5 times in different adjectives in there, but he keeps saying it. Yep.
Yeah, different references and all that
Yes.
kind of stuff.
Oh,
This is music to a lot of Auburn fans' ears, Brian.
Yeah. And I think getting commitment from the Cook kid, Byron Johnson Cook, I think that's just an example of what he's talking about, right? Because you're getting the number 4 running back in the country. You're getting a guy with a huge upside. You beat out Miami, which is not afraid to throw cash at players all over the place. So clearly, this is telling anybody who pays attention to college football recruiting that Auburn is putting a priority on running backs in the running game. And I just think this tells us a lot about what the future of this program is going to look like under Alex Golich.
Yeah, boy, no kidding. And as Barry mentioned, the emphasis on the running game. There's been a lot of great running backs at Auburn, and a lot of great offenses that centered around that.
Yeah, you look at. I'm sorry to interrupt, but you look at the previous staff, right? That they'd signed 5 receivers before they spent this type of investment on a quality running back. So it's a definite big change in the way things are run.
Whew.
Brian, I was going to talk about this earlier, but I wanted to get your thoughts about it. With the cost of doing business in college athletics these days, there are several sports, Olympic type sports, that just don't make any money. They're just a drain on the bottom line. Right. I saw where Arkansas is going to discontinue their men's and women's tennis programs. Do you think that's going to become a trend, or other SEC schools going to start dropping sports that don't make any money?
I think so. I don't know how big of a trend it'll be, but yes, I do think it'll be a trend, so to speak. But I think it'll depend on that program in that school, because there may be a school that has a fantastic swimming and diving program, and they don't want to drop that, and other schools might not and want to. So I don't think it's necessarily going to be all tennis, but I do think that's going to happen. I don't think you're going to see women's sports be dropped alone. I think it's going to have to be situations where the men's and women's programs are both dropped, just because you still have to be in line with Title IX.
Yeah, and a lot of it, I think, will have to do with the fact there's so many international players in some of those sports.
Right,
well.
And they're much more expensive to bring over. Right. Yep.
Yeah.
Yes. Somebody at the Auburn baseball team get hot again, Brian. I don't know if I was expecting a lot this season from Ethan Bingaman.
Oof.
But he homers 3 times, including a walk-off, to seal a series win at home against a pretty good Oklahoma team. What's been the key to the hot streak for the baseball team?
Well, if you ask them, they say it's Eric Guevara. I think he's stepped up. Not just, he's Auburn's best hitter, has been most consistent, but he's really stepped up his leadership role, and I think people are responding to that. Going into the season, I thought this lineup was going to be really, really good. They're very disappointing for the first half of the season and the early part of SEC play, but they've turned it on the past, I guess it's 5 weeks now or so. And it's really incredible what they've done just in the last, I guess it's 4 weekends or so.
Yeah, they won 4 straight series.
Yep. And only Texas A&M has won more straight. That's 5, and Auburn goes to Texas A&M this weekend. But Auburn hit 29 home runs first 34 games, and they've hit 24 in the last 9. So they are on a power surge, no doubt. And this team is, with the pitching they've had, which remained consistent all season, when they score runs like this, they're very, very hard to beat. And Oklahoma won 1 game. They just had a 2-1, a great pitching matchup there. But Auburn is when they're swinging the bats like this, they are really, really good.
Yeah, I mean, it was amazing. 3 or 4 weeks ago, people were complaining about the hitting coach and all that type of stuff, and man, something turned around.
Yeah, they got it figured out. And Gabe's been a long-time coach in the SEC. He knows how to get it done, and we know from watching baseball for many, many years, things aren't always straightforward. Teams go through their ups and downs, but Auburn's batting is definitely on the up right now.
One of these days, we are going to see, and it may not be too far from now, Brian, a stone on the Walk of Fame with Jackson Coivin's name on it.
Yes. Incredible. 3 straight SEC championships. I think I read you got to go back to the,
It was 1965.
1965. Okay, there you go.
Some guy I'd never heard of before from LSU.
There you go. He's really good. Auburn came up short in the semifinals I think it was the semis at the SEC in match play. But they'll be, I think, the number 1 overall seed or close to it for the NCAA tournament, and that should get started here fairly soon. And they'll definitely have a chance to win that again. He won it as a true freshman at Auburn. I imagine this is his last year. He hasn't said that, but see if it is, see if he can go out with one more championship.
Jackson
now that spring football is complete, and we talked to you last week a lot about the 8A game and whatnot, what's just the daily routine? I know a lot of casual fans probably think, well, they'll just roll out there again in August and get ready for that first game, but there's a lot more to it that behind the scenes that I think the casual fan just doesn't really know that much about.
Yeah, and so they'll get a couple of weeks off, and that's right now. That's part of it. We got finals, and get some time, to go home after that. But when they get back, it'll be in December workouts, and a lot of that is going to involve them going out there and working on their own. Although that's changed a lot over the last 10 years. You can have coaches out there now. You can be a little bit more organized, but it's especially a great time for quarterbacks and receivers to get on the same page. The younger guys to learn the offense and defense a little bit better, and understand assignment football, so you can hit the ground running a little bit better once you get into preseason practice. I almost said 2-a-days, but that doesn't exist anymore. I just love that word. But so that's going on football player wise, and then coaching wise. Auburn's still bringing in prospects, but a lot of the coaches are out on the road for the next, I guess, a couple more weeks. And then the big recruiting surge starts at the end of May with the start of official visits. So end of May through first 3 weeks in June is going to be recruiting central, right? I would expect Auburn to bring in around 50 or 60 official visitors during that period. And then you expect a ton of commitments from, I'd say, mid-June through mid-July. So that's going to be the big time in recruiting. It used to be, January and December, but now it's May and June and July.
Brian, as you probably have heard, I am on the road. I've been on the road for a week. I've been, all about baseball, moving everywhere. I've actually done the show twice in the last 4 days from SEC venues in Lexington, Kentucky, and here today in Athens. I did not get a chance, therefore, John, the latest BMAT's Monday Musings has to do with what he terms as an unwanted 24-team college football playoff. I haven't had a chance to read it, Brian. Can you give us at least a little thumbnail before directing people to auburnsports.com?
Yes. Well, I hate the idea of a 24-team playoff. I think if you just look at it straightforward right now, the number 12 is fine for right now. Miami was the number 10 seed going in, right? They played for the championship. You can look at Notre Dame, and they had a resume that was a championship-type contender. So you could go to 11 games right there and still feel good about it. That's removing the G5, G6 teams from it. And I think it's reasonable to assume that as the talent starts spreading out more with NIL and transfer portal, that you could build up to close to 16 teams. Maybe not get 16 teams every year, but have 12, 13, or 14, down the line that are capable of winning it or competing for it to the semifinals or finals. So I can see where a 12 to 16 team would work. I also hate buys. I hate playing these games at NFL stadiums thousands of miles away from where you play your home football game. So I despise all that part of it too. And then I just went through the reasons why there's this push for 24. It's not because it's good for college football. It's because the Big Ten and the Fox Sports are pushing it, because if they go above 16, Fox Sports can bid on those extra games and make a lot more money. So that's why the Big Ten and Fox Sports are in league together pushing for that. I also mentioned how head coaches are for it because it's the number one resume builder now. Nobody cares about conference championships or bowl games or 10-win seasons. It's about, did you make the playoffs and how many times did you put your team in the playoffs? So the more playoff spots, the more that coach can build his resume and get a better contract or find a better job. Or keep his job, I guess. Right. And then I also mentioned the other thing that I think is really idiotic is it's just a drive for more money. But the problem with that, and everybody complaining about needing more money, is okay, you're going to get more money, and then 3 years from now, you're going to be in the same position, because as soon as you get that more money, you're going to start spending more money, because that's just the way the
That's
market
what you
works
do.
when it's wide open, right?
Yeah.
So until they sit down, collectively bargain, get some real structured rules and whatever it takes, that's going to stand up legally, this cycle is going to keep going and going. And I just think the leadership in college football, Greg Sankey, Tony Petitti, SEC, Big Ten, NCAA, are just failing the sport right now with what's going on.
Well, I think they've talked too much, and they need to make a decision, wherever it's going to be, 16, 24, whatever. But let's make a decision and go play ball. I'm tired of all this talk. And I'm with you, Brian. 16 is a number that I've kind of settled on for a couple of years. I think 24 is too many. I will have to say it looks like that's where we're heading.
Yep.
From everything I'm hearing and reading. So I'm trying to look at some positives of that. A few that I do see if we go to 24. From what I understand, the first 2 rounds will be on campus, which I think is huge. I do like the fact that they're going to implement and bring in the on-campus part of it. And I'm with you. Going away and playing all over the country is crazy that many times. And I do understand the aspect of more teams and more conferences are involved in the latter part of the year. I think with the 4-team playoff, it was like, well, we're out. We're done. We're not playing anymore, so we don't care. We're not interested. So I do think they're trying to bring more conferences, more regions of the country together. I'm not sold that it will de-emphasize the regular season. Maybe some matchups it will, but I think the big ones are still going to be important. But I do think you're going to have teams in this playoff that you'll see them play and go, what are they doing in the playoff? They have no reason being here.
And in conjunction with the 24, they're talking about making them all, no auto bids, just basically taking the best 24 teams, right? Which means you're going to get a bunch of 8-5, 8-4 SEC Big Ten teams, which, good for you, but is that really a playoff team that should be, competing for the national championship? I don't know. That bugs me.
They did that in the NFL. The Dallas Cowboys could be 4-16. They'd get in every year.
So,
and there'd be a lot of NFL people that would not have a problem with that.
That's true.
They would like it that way.
Yeah, I want some finality to it.
Right.
I think Greg Gurn has kind of gotten lapped a little bit. It seems like, Petitti and all these other conferences are kind of moving ahead, and the SEC's fighting and clawing to keep it at 16, and nobody's standing in the room with Sankey. He's kind of the lone wolf.
Well, it's shifted too. Everybody was 16 a year ago, and now the momentum and everything has gone to 24, and he is the lone holdout, and I would not expect him to hold out long, because I just don't think he has much of a backbone. I just don't think he's a leader. I don't think there's any good leadership and vision in college athletics right now.
Oh, one final question, and this is top of your head. Is Tristan Tia, is he gonna compete for the starting job this fall with Byron Brown? He looked good in the spring game, and you know how much people pay attention to that.
Yeah, I don't think he will. I think it's a done deal. Byron Brown, putting aside whatever happened in the spring game, wasn't very sharp. But what I do think is it makes it interesting for next year, because I think if the coach feel like him and a couple of the other guys on the roster right now can compete for it and can give Auburn a good quarterback next year, think about the money that saves them that they can put to something else on this roster, right? Because if you got to go out and sign a 5-star quarterback or a starting quarterback in the portal, you're talking about $3 million plus, or maybe plus, right? Crazy. So if you can get in a situation where you get an unheralded guy who steps up and can show you that, hey, he can be special, he can be a starter, but you can build a much better team around him rather than having to go, hey, I got to go sign this 5-star quarterback and hopes he sticks around for more than a year, or I'm throwing $4 million or $5 million away. So it just makes life a lot more easier for a program if you can get in that situation.
Yeah. That makes sense.
I didn't even think about that. It's one of the reasons why we have Brian Matthews with us, auburnsports.com. We mentioned BMAT's Monday Musing, so many different things going on. And even now, as we close out April, get into May, towards the dog days of summer, you guys got a lot of content, Brian. Tell us a little bit about how people can access it.
Yeah, even in the spring football, they're still rolling out baseball, football recruiting. Of course, the big commitment just a couple of days ago was huge for Auburn. And the basketball portal not done yet. Auburn's still looking for that wing, potentially the kid from France, I can't say it.
I like you trying anyway. I appreciate the effort.
But we'll have plenty of coverage of that, and of course recruiting. Everything that pops up at Auburn, we'll be on top of it. I'll be in Montgomery actually tonight. Alex Golish and Stephen Pearl are speaking at the Ambush over there at Wind Lake, so I'll be there for that and have coverage of those two guys later tonight. So all that more auburnsports.com. You can follow me on Twitter /X at BMattAU.
John, you might want to just drop by and say hello to Brian over there.
No doubt. Man, was it the Ambush tour, Barry, years ago when I went down there to the Renaissance and was dapping it up?
That was the Tiger Trek. With Trooper and Curtis.
Those good times. Those fancy shirts and jackets, the limos.
Right, riding around in those Hummer limos.
Brian, I rolled in there with one of our former producer, who was a huge Auburn fan. He didn't think I'd go with him. I rolled in with him down at the Renaissance. You should have seen the look on those people's faces when they saw me there.
I can imagine.
Yeah.
I hope you're wearing your nice leather jacket when you went there.
Oh, yeah.
Brian, we appreciate you. Thanks very much for the time.
Y'all take care.
All right, buddy. Thank you much. Brian Matthews, auburnsports.com, joining us here today on the program. Great insight and information as always. Ambush tour tonight? Man, you kidding me?
Listen, the Ambush tour tonight, as Brian said, it's at Wind Lakes. Hey, and don't forget, coming up as well, it's tomorrow. It's whatever they call it now. It's the Regions Pro-Am is coming
from Birmingham.
Up. Yeah, that's coming up tomorrow. So in the morning, as a matter of fact. So, Stephen Pearl is playing. I don't even know if he's a golfer. Check this out. It's the Regions Tradition Celebrity Pro-Am tomorrow at Greystone in Hoover. Check out some of the Golesh is not playing.
Not a golfer, I understand.
I don't think he is. Golesh is not playing in the Pro-Am. That kind of hurts. Stephen Pearl is playing with David Toms. Greg Sankey's playing.
Ground control to David Toms?
Yes. Greg Sankey and Stewart's Kitchen Sink.
Yeah.
Dale Murphy playing with Colin Montgomery. Kirby Smart with Cameron Percy.
Don't know Cameron Percy.
Nate Oates, his tee time is at 8:20 with Steve Stricker. Kalen DeBoer is playing with the Big Easy himself. DeBoer and Ernie Els. At 8:50, it's a threesome. Nick Saban, Lance Armstrong, and VJ Singh.
Singh.
And at 9 o'clock, check out this foursome. 9 o'clock. Charles Barkley, Tommy Tuberville, Riley Green, John Daly.
Who's
Barkley and Daly are going to be in the same foursome.
Who's Riley Green?
He's a country music star.
Oh, that's an interesting foursome.
That's the one.
I want to know if Daly will even make the first round of competitive golf.
Who knows?
One of the last times Daly played golf in the state of Alabama, he got all of his clothes thrown out of his van at the McDonald's parking lot off of I-85 in Auburn.
The only reason why that is even known is because a certain renowned sports talk radio host got word of it. Were you there? Did you have boots on the ground, or?
I was there the afternoon prior to him having all of his belongings thrown out of his van in the McDonald's parking lot
by an enraged
ex-wife.
Ex-wife.
One of the many ex-wives.
Several.
It was a big event. Brian Urlacher, the former Chicago Bear linebacker, he had just been drafted, played at New Mexico, and I played with Brian Urlacher. He was the celebrity in the group that I played with. Jim McMahon was at that event.
That's what I was about to ask. Was that one where he was playing barefoot?
He was playing barefooted, walked into the men's locker room. I'm washing my hands. McMahon stood next to me at the sink next to me, pulled his teeth out, washed his teeth, put them on a napkin on the counter, and washed his hands and put his teeth back in as he was barefooted. Walked around the whole night barefooted. Yes.
Oh,
the golf was fun, but the post-golf party was a blowout. It was a blowout, and I think that's what got Daly in trouble.
You asked Brian Matthews about Arkansas getting rid of men's and women's tennis, and it's effective immediately. The people who are still on the team can still go to school on scholarship, can still eat at the cafeteria. If they, sprain their ankle doing whatever, they can still have the athletic trainers look at them, but they're done. And asked him about that, and I agree with you, John. That's going to be happening. That's going to, as a matter of fact, I read this morning some other group of 5 school just got rid of their men's and women's tennis team. I kick myself. Bill from Baltimore says, hey, if Tennessee drops its tennis program, then a player can't beat out a Heisman-winning Auburn quarterback for SEC Athlete of the Year.
Good thinking. Way to go. Be
John
on top
and I
of
are
it.
both like, man, I wish we had thought about it.
Barry, you mentioned something about international players.
Yeah, and that's a lot because – it is not a revenue sport. I mean, they don't, by and large, they don't sell tickets. And here I am in Athens, which has got the International Amateur Tennis Hall of Fame or whatever, and they've got a huge tennis facility, and they're good every year. I guess they sell tickets, but it's not a revenue-producing sport.
Well,
it's not designed to be a revenue. And you have so many foreign players come in on both men's and women's team. It is more expensive. So maybe that did have a factor into it.
And I'm aware that there are a lot of international students that participate in those sports. But my first thought is, why are we bringing international students over here to participate in a sport that makes no money? Is that what these institutions are? Is that their goal? We're going to provide a sport for a student that's not even a citizen of this country. Oh, well, why are they doing that?
I would have to imagine that's part of the thinking. They need
to think differently. They need to think like me.
They are
I've been saying that for 30 years. When are more people going to do that?
They are doing it at Arkansas. And listen, Arkansas, they're not, in the top maybe half, maybe the top 2/3 of the SEC in terms of resources and budget and all of that. John, if Arkansas is doing it, just boom right now, there's going to be a bunch of them that are going to.
I would think Frank Broyles is pretty happy today.
The St. Louis University Billikens, effective immediately, they're discontinuing their men's and women's tennis programs. So, if Arkansas is doing that to women's tennis, men's tennis, John, that's going to be happening. That type of thing is going to be happening everywhere.
I wonder, I'm just thinking out loud, I wonder how much it cost to put on men's and women's tennis in the SEC, what their annual cost is, because they ain't bringing anything in.
It can't be that expensive in terms of, equipment. You got a tennis racket, right?
Yeah, I'm sure these
as opposed
these
to gymnastics or equestrian.
I'm probably giving them the tennis rackets and the balls.
Probably.
And you build a court. So I guess it's all travel and coaches' salaries, I would think.
So it's not a huge savings. It ain't like program changing or anything. But what it is more than anything else is, a harbinger of things to come.
I think of swimming and diving. Obviously, you got a big expense in building the pools, but you got to keep chlorine in them. You got to clean them up. You got to put new water in there.
The one that I always think of, and I'm not advocating for the cutting of anything. I am not. But I've been around these programs for a long time. Gymnastics.
Yeah.
That's expensive. The insurance on gymnastics. You got a bunch of 90-pound girls out there running, turning handsprings and stuff, and they tear ACLs and they sprain ankles and all, and the equipment and all that. Yeah, anyway, that's something to look out for anyway.
Yeah, we said it earlier, Barry. Alabama spent $48 million on a golf facility. Really? And I know a lot of people donated some of that money, not all of it, but a good chunk of it, less than half. But $48 million on a golf facility?
Well, and here's the thing. If you look at TigerInsider.com, evidently the big thing on the message boards right now is, did Bama quit against Indiana?
I can answer that for you.
And so did about 140 people. They said yes.
Hell yeah, they did.
Other than that, the big thing that they've been talking about on that message boards, we spent millions on men's golf, and we're not that good.
Well, they went through a period where they played for a natty and lost, played for the one the next year and won it. Since then, it's been a little dry spell up there.
Yeah.
And then they spent $48 million on the golf program.
Off a guy who's on the chat forum. His name is Off. He says, "What's going on with golf? Poured millions into the facilities and can't make the quarterfinals.
See,
the Aubs are good. The dogs and cats.
Yeah, that's not supposed to happen.
Yeah. Well,
all right, let's take a break. Yeah. Travis Reier scheduled to join us here momentarily. We'll talk with him. Reier on YouTube, Talking Tide.
It's Longshore and McKnight in association with Yellowhammer News, presented by Bud Light.
Phoenix Physical Therapy is ready to help patients recover, recharge, and rise. They develop a customized therapy plan for each patient to get them back to enjoying their favorite activities. Their experienced team is committed to providing exceptional care in a professional environment. Whether you're looking to prevent or treat an injury, recover from a recent illness, or recuperate from surgery, schedule an appointment with one of their clinics and take advantage of physical therapy, athletic training, workers' comp, and employer solution services. Get back in the game, get back to work, and get back to life with Phoenix Physical Therapy. To find a location near you and to schedule an appointment, go to phoenixphysicaltherapy.com. That's phoenixphysicaltherapy.com. Why Hands? At Hands Heating and Air, you get this area's highest ranked service provider with 24-hour repair service, no overtime charges, and their same-day service guarantee. Plus, instead of other companies' 30-day repair warranty, Hands gives you a 3-year repair warranty. Hands Heating and Air is here for you 24/7, 365. And service is not just something they do, it's their way of operating, for you in mind. All of Hands employees are trained to adhere to this standard. They work hard to ensure that this standard is maintained, and they are constantly looking for new ways to better serve you. Call Hands Heating and Air today at 508-5382. That's 508-5382, or find them on the web at 834hands.com.
In sports, if you think joy only happens after you win, think again. Look at the world's most successful athletes like Serena Williams, Brooks Koepka, and Alex Morgan. They don't spend all their days grinding away. They take time to enjoy themselves, like getting together with friends over a Michelob Ultra, because they know that happiness is the key to winning, and that joy is the whole game, not just the end game. Michelob Ultra. 95 calories, 2.6 grams of carbs. It's only worth it if you enjoy it. Enjoy responsibly. AB Michelob Ultra Light Beer, St. Louis, Missouri.
Okay, back at it a couple of minutes past the top of the hour here on this Tuesday. Longshore and McKnight. Travis Reier scheduled to join us here momentarily. Reier on YouTube, Talking Tide. Tom Luganbill at the bottom of this hour joining us today as well. So we're glad you are with us here on this Tuesday edition of the program. I was looking at the calendar. Wow, May 1st. Right around the corner. It is popping up any minute now.
Getting there.
Where is the year gone?
Does this? What emotions are stirred by a chat like this, John?
Okay,
from you, from Tobias. I should have listened to the Phantom. Phoenix scored a by the way bucket at the end, and I lost my bet. I mean, is there empathy? Is there sympathy? Is there sorrow? Is there Tobias, man. How many times have we seen chats? Have we gotten texts? Have we received emails? Has John received phone calls or heard from people that have spoken to him face to face and say, man,
well, we'll get into that a little more to detail here in a few minutes. But I'll just leave it at that, Tobias.
Yeah.
Things like that. And it's interesting as we get into it a little deeper and break it down, how that game did play out there. So, yeah, that there again, don't want to. I will say this, though, Bear. I noticed early on the River Region Straw chat line, somebody did say, hey, how's the Phantom doing? Or how'd the Phantom do? And I went, well, I usually don't get that type of response.
Hang on.
Early in the morning, if maybe things didn't go too well, but they went okay. Well, we'll see. We'll see. I don't want to talk too early about it.
People have different ways of salutations. Hey, good morning. Morning, everyone. Hey, good morning.
Yeah.
I didn't, I had a buddy of mine who always said, hey, how's it hanging? And then I figured out what he was talking about.
Yeah.
I don't do that. Chris the Bammer says, hey, how'd the Phantom do? So, that was him on the thing this morning.
Yeah. So we'll get into that a little bit later on in the program. I will say this. Well, no, I don't want to say too much too soon here on the program.
Now, we talked about some of the things going on, the Brendan Sorsby case where he's taken time off. I say it's a case. It's not a federal case or a criminal case. It's an NCAA case. Texas Tech quarterback evidently is being investigated by the NCAA for thousands upon thousands of bets on an online app on his phone, including bets when he was a redshirt at Indiana, betting on Indiana in a game he didn't play. That's other things out there. They were supposed to play on the Live Tour in New Orleans in June. That's been postponed. This is just weeks after questions raised about the Live Golf Tour's financial status and future. No word, but they were supposed to play in June in New Orleans. Ain't happening. Now there are Live events on the schedule between June 7th and July the 23rd.
They played the Zurich Classic in New Orleans last week, and based on the crowd size there, I'm not sure the Live Tour would have done real well playing there in New Orleans. So, I want those Live guys to come back on the PGA Tour just to make it more competitive and see some of those guys play. I was never a big Live guy. John's
one of these, can't we all just get along kind of guy?
Can't we all just get exactly? Hey, our man Travis Ryer on YouTube, talking Tide among many other platforms and topics that Travis gets into on a weekly basis, joining us here now. Travis, how you doing today?
I'm doing great. How are you guys?
Doing really well. Do you read anything into the Live Tour postponing the event down in New Orleans? Is that another one of those dings on the funeral tour? I mean, it feels like that opening scene from Live and Let Die.
Yeah, it reads like an obituary. Yeah, it reads like first draft of an obituary is what it kind of reads like. This is obviously been trending in this direction. Kind of like you guys, I'm interested with the fallout, the pathways that are going to be made available to the different tiered players. Obviously, there's the Roms, the DeChambos, and maybe the Terrell Hattons, and then there's going to be pretty much everybody else. I'm also interested from a Champions Tour perspective because you do have some guys that are, I guess, still on the Live Tour that could impact things from the Champions Tour perspective, the 50 plus crowd. So a lot to sort through as it relates to the world of professional golf, but even the PGA Tour, how it's going to respond to this, because we've seen the PGA Tour here in the last week, cut 50 plus jobs. And so it's not exactly, I don't think, a mood in Ponte Vedra Beach that is exactly dance on the grave of Live. But there's still so much to figure out in professional golf.
Travis, let's talk first round NFL draft. Caden Proctor to the Dolphins, Ty Simpson to the LA Rams. The Simpson pick seemed to generate the most conversation. Your thoughts about those two players and where they landed?
Yeah, it was very interesting to see those guys go back to back. I think for Caden, it was a good spot, not just in terms of when he went, because it was, top 12, top 15 when he had his name called. I think for what I anticipate the Dolphins being moving forward in terms of their offensive approach, it makes sense. I think Malik Willis is sort of undervalued in what type of impact he can make in his second go around as a starter. But I think they're going to be run heavy. So I think that benefits Caden. If you're going to play him at left tackle, if he's going to be a tackle, or even if you play him at guard, I think the run game is somewhere where you don't worry about him as much and you don't leave him maybe as exposed, especially early in his career, if you're able to be maybe a little more run centric. And then, Ty to me was kind of a surprise like everybody else, because I hadn't heard that this was Matt Stafford's sort of retirement tour coming up. And it was certainly some interesting scenes from the Rams side of things on draft night with Sean McVay and that brain trust. But I like it for Ty because it's almost another opportunity to redshirt, right? I mean, he was afforded time at Alabama. I think he can definitely benefit from this too, because the Rams pretty much have him locked up for 5 years as a first round pick. They'll have the club option for that 5th year. So I think it's a pretty good situation for Ty.
Yeah, I do too. Yeah,
it is. It is a surprise, though. We talked with you last Tuesday, extensive, provocative, informational, like it always is. Did they wait until after we talked with Travis Reier on Tuesday before announcing last Wednesday that Kalen DeBoer gets a raise and an extension, 7 years, $12.5 million a year, because they were a little gun shy and what Travis Reier's response would be to that?
Probably. Yeah, probably.
What is Travis Reier's response
to it? No doubt. No, look, I think it's polarizing a little bit when you talk about that sort of deal for Kalen DeBoer, and he still has his detractors, or at least his fence sitters. Yeah. I think it's fair to say when it comes to the big picture and what he and his staff may be able to accomplish in Tuscaloosa. But the bottom line is all it takes is one suitor like a Michigan, and the commitment stakes go up. And so, it's kind of like real estate. It's not about what it appraises for. It's about what someone's willing to pay for it.
Yes.
And look, Kalen resume wise can stack up with the top 5 coaches in college football right now. So I know, again, his fence sitters and or his detractors in the Alabama fan base look at these first couple of years and think, it's not going to get it. But when you look at it in its entirety, going back to his time at Washington, it does add up to what we saw last week. And I think it's more to the commitment of Alabama too. They're gonna pour into their coaches, like DeBoer and like Nate Oates. And maybe it won't be as much in terms of NIL and rev share, but they're going to lean heavily on investing in their coaches. And I think because if it goes well, that's the one thing. It's crazy to say this now, but you can count more on keeping a coach around now than you can players.
Yeah.
And just a couple of years ago, that would have sounded crazy.
And I've asked several people about this. I just thought the timing, the way it was announced was a little interesting. I'd heard a week or so prior to this that there were a list of coaches, assistant coaches that were up for renewals and raises and whatnot, and it was posted and it was made public. And then I think it was last Wednesday afternoon, 3:00, boom, Kalen DeBoer is up for a renewal and an extension. 15 minutes later, news comes out that it was approved. I just thought maybe the element or the feel of they're kind of sliding this in at the end. Did you get that feeling?
Maybe a little bit. Yeah, I probably didn't go that deep with it. It was sensible to me. It just always felt to me like it was coming, you know. But yeah, I know what you're talking about from that perspective. The timing, it used to matter so much with timing of these contract extensions from a recruiting perspective. I don't think it really matters much anymore from that standpoint. Players are worried about their own contracts now. They used to worry about coaches' contracts as far as is this guy going to be there for the entirety of my time there, or those things. I don't think it matters as much anymore. As long as you get it done, that's all that matters.
Well, you mentioned recruiting, and 2 days later, another big 5-star quarterback commits to Alabama. So that's certainly a shot in the arm for Kalen DeBoer, for the fans to say, well, man, this staff can still go out there and recruit. My thought is, how do you keep all those quarterbacks happy?
Yeah, I think that's why you keep putting together 2 quarterback classes too, because you're not going to keep them all happy. So you kind of give yourself some leeway as far as having that top guy like Elijah Haven that they just got the commitment from, and then still maintaining your developmental guys. Sort of like Keelan Russell and Austin Mack right now that they have. And the 2 quarterbacks they brought in this most recent class. So, yeah, that is the thing that I agree is sort of undeniable with Kalen DeBoer. If you want something that at this point, if you're an Alabama fan, it's that regardless of how this all plays out, he's going to have quality quarterback to elite quarterbacks in the pipeline. Yeah, there's still a lot to sort of see as in terms of how this is going to play out, but quarterback acquisition, it looks to be like one of the things, not the only thing, but one of the things you're going to be able to count on.
Well, the thing that I thought, about Elijah Haven, I get why Alabama wanted him, even though they do have Jet Tamala, and they do have Keelan Russell already. I just can't really understand it from the kid's perspective out there necessarily. I mean, there are easier paths to the starting quarterback position in college football than there, I suppose.
Yeah, again though, there's a couple ways to look at that. And are you going to keep Austin Mack and Keelan Russell beyond this season? And if you don't, and I'm Elijah Haven and I'm coming in there, I'm probably not worried about either of the 2 that they just brought in, although I think Jet Tamala has legit potential of those 2. But if you're the number 1 quarterback recruit in the country, you're probably looking at the only other guy that can sort of say that in all these quarterbacks, and that's Keelan. And if it ends up being Keelan or it ends up being Austin Mack and one of those 2 move on after this season, then Keelan, if it is him, he'll be a year away from the NFL draft, assuming things go well. And look, some of these guys don't care anyway. They think, hey, I'll go in there and beat out the 2 guys right now. Now that doesn't always play out that way, but if you're the number one guy in the country, you're probably not worried too much about who's there or who's coming.
I'd love to be a fly on the wall to see how the coaching staff kind of lays all that out in front of these guys. Did they say, no, look, one of these guys is going to be gone next year. You're going to slip right on in there. Or is it, we think you can beat these guys out? I'd heard with Saban, his pitch was, I'm not recruiting you. I mean, I'm recruiting you because I think you can play right now.
Right.
I wouldn't be recruiting you if I didn't think you could help us immediately. I'm sure it's fascinating how these coaches lay it all out to these players to convince them this is the place for you and this is the path we think you're going to be able to make it on.
Well, and I think, the NFL still matters to these guys.
Oh, yeah.
And they've seen Michael Penix go top 10 NFL draft. Now they've seen Ty Simpson go, top 12, top 15 NFL draft. And Elijah Haven at the end of the day is 6'5", 210, 200 plus pounds, and he is a good fit for what Alabama wants at the quarterback position. They still want a guy that first and foremost can stand in there and deliver the football to playmakers. And that's going to align still with most of the National Football League.
Yeah.
And so if you're Elijah Haven, you're thinking system fit. And whatever you think about this system, and we talked about it a million times, if I'm a quarterback, I want to be in a quarterback-centric pro system. And there, for better or worse, there is no more quarterback-centric program maybe in all of college football right now than Alabama's. There isn't. And just look at Alabama's run game last year for more on that.
Yeah. Here's the game. Go win it. You
want it all. And that's not just in terms of throwing it around. That's making checks.
Checks on the line.
That's running the show.
Yeah.
That's being handed the reins. They're not Ryan Grubb and Kalen DeBoer, maybe to a fault sometimes. They're not afraid to say, here it is. Take it.
Great stuff, man. Before we let you go, your analysis of the Jags draft. Barry's been kind of quiet on it. Want to know what?
Yeah, there was no first round picks. There was not much to.
Yeah, I thought the Jags sort of drafted like they were going for their fourth straight Super Bowl championship in 2026. Like they almost took it off. The draft started and they all went down to Chart House on the St. Johns River for happy hour or something. But you know what? There is the team's perspective on the approach, and there's very much the fans' perspective on the approach to a draft. And fans, we all want sizzle. Well, the Jags didn't have a first-round pick.
No.
And even if they would have had a first-round pick, they were picking 24th in the first round. It's not like this wasn't going to be Travis Hunter again from a year ago where they went up, and they were already in the top, 6 or so last year. They went up to 2 to get Travis Hunter. It really didn't align for those type of fireworks. They had 10 picks, and their viewpoint was that they were more about solidifying, who they already were. And that's kind of what they did. And they've done some good stuff in free agency, some subtle stuff, but probably the best move they've made so far, I think, without question, was an in-season trade. So it's not just about the draft or even off-season free agency. The best move this new regime has made was the trade for Jacoby Myers in season, bringing him in from the Raiders, changed their entire 2025 season. So I'm not as quick to sort of go overboard or those. It's a calendar year situation in terms of player acquisition. The draft is an industry all of its own now, kind of like college football recruiting. But I think the draft, like college football recruiting, has taken a hit from NIL and rev share because, man, it seemed like once you got out of about the second or third round, there were just guys being drafted. Fourth round and later, it felt like roster filling. And almost like UDFAs getting drafted in the 4th and 5th round because guys are staying in school as long as they possibly can. I mean, you know, it's kind of become like the frat parties or the frats where, you got to tell the 28-year-olds, look, you can't come back.
Yeah.
You got to graduate this year. I know it's been the best 8 or 9 years of your life.
Guilty.
You're still, you can still come back for the parties, but you just can't live in the house.
Yeah.
You got to go.
They're like Wooderson from Dazed and Confused. You know,
and Longshore at this point, Longshore is saying, just at me next time. You know,
yeah. I mean, they I was kicking and screaming. They were dragging me away from the house.
You got to, at some point, you got to leave the house.
Yeah, like you do.
Blutarski in Animal House. You know,
you're making more money in college than you would be as a 4th or 5th round NFL draft pick anyway.
Why would you stay?
At least, even though it was Travis. 7 years, Travis, it wasn't down the drain for me, though. It was a great.
They've got to implement an age limit in college athletics. I don't know what else they can do, but kind of like when you go to Disney World or one of the amusement parks and they got the thing that says if you're not this tall, you can't ride the ride. Well, they're going to have to check IDs or have a college sports bouncer, that's.
Mm-hmm. Coach Bowden, you're gonna have to wait, okay? You're gonna something like that. Anyway, well, we get with Travis because of all of the different things that we can talk with him about. Talking Tide on YouTube, Cart Golf is really been appointment viewing for us. Second helping, No Sleep Teal. All of that. What's next on the filming schedule, Travis?
Yeah, we had Cart Golf last night.
Yeah,
and we're gonna have No Sleep Teal coming up in the early afternoon around 1 Eastern is the plan. We're gonna look at that Jacksonville Jaguars draft again. That should take all of about 4.5 minutes.
Yeah.
So don't blink. But no, it'll be fun. We'll still work through that. And then we'll have some Bama talk coming up later in the week. We're going to crank up second helping again here real soon with our great friend Brent Beard.
Oh, beautiful. Love it. The content just go to YouTube, outstanding.
Ryer on YouTube, and also, as you see on the scroll at the bottom, add Ryer on YouTube as well. Appreciate you very much, Travis.
Thanks, guys. Have a great week.
You too, buddy. Talk to you next week. Travis Ryer on YouTube. Outstanding content. From so many different platforms there that Travis is a part of. Barry, what do you say we take a quick break? Lugan Bill's going to hop on here with us in a couple of minutes. Maybe squeeze in the Daily Dog. Might be after Lugan Bill. Who knows?
Yeah.
You got to stick around.
It's Longshore and McKnight in association with Yellowhammer News, presented by Bud Light.
The Destin Connection Seafood Market at 3750 Norman Bridge Road in Montgomery has the freshest seafood direct from the Gulf of America. I'm talking red snapper and grouper, all sizes of Gulf shrimp, jumbo lump crab meat and crab claws, Louisiana Bay oysters, and New Bedford scallops. They are a full-service seafood market and kitchen serving po' boys, dinners, and sandwiches. You know, many well-known restaurants in the river region purchase their seafood from the Destin Connection because they know it's the absolute best. Call ahead and your order will be ready for pickup. The Destin Connection Seafood Market, 3750 Norman Bridge Road. Call 288-4272. That's 288-4272.
At Dixie Overhead Door, we specialize in top-quality garage door solutions for homes across Alabama and Georgia. In need of a garage door repair or a brand new garage door installation, our expert team delivers fast, reliable service with local expertise that you can trust, providing customized solutions and exceptional care every step of the way. Visit us today at DixieOverheadDoor.com and experience the Dixie difference.
All righty, welcome back in, everybody. Getting close to the bottom of the hour. He joins us each and every Monday during the football season, and for years now, he always hops back on with us after spring football wraps up to get a little analysis and thoughts about how spring went, and we look ahead to the fall. He is Tom Luganbill from ESPN, one of their fine college football analysts. Lugs, good to have you back on again. I hope you're doing well.
Good morning. Do you notice my empty house?
Yeah.
I'm actually standing because I literally don't have a chair to sit in.
Oh, wow.
So we're getting ready to be empty nesters. We've spent the last 6 weeks getting our house ready to put up for sale and move to the lake.
Good for you, man.
The dog's coming, right?
Oh, the dogs, they're already down there. I mean, I'm all by myself. I'm actually kind of lonely. They're coming in. They're coming in to actually do our photos all today in about an hour. And I got to head up to Bristol. We're doing a post-spring wrap shows on each of the ACC teams coming out of spring, and so got that. The UFL, talking to you fine folks.
Yeah.
I've been a busy man.
Well, Luke, I'm kind of in your boat because I've got 2 seniors in high school that are graduating in about 3 weeks. I've already got the door open for them. Hit the road, boys.
Let me tell you, I already got one in college already. The other one's about to go. So we're making some plans, man.
I hear you.
One of the first things I thought of last Wednesday, almost a full week ago, when the news came out, a little bit of a shock. Kalen DeBoer, 7-year contract now at the University of Alabama, got extended, $12.5 million. One of the first things I thought of is, man, I'd love to ask Luke and Bill what he thinks about that and what the underlying message is there.
Listen, I really think that the university, the administration really believes in his vision. I think they believe in his background of being a consistent, proven winner. And in today's college football landscape, nobody wants to be in flux. Nobody wants to constantly be looking for that new answer every 2 to 3 years. I think they feel comfort and stability and consistency. And I obviously it's not just football, it's basketball at the University of Alabama as well. And so you don't make a move like that unless you have a true belief that you've got the right guy and that you've got a plan in place to continue to be a successful football program moving forward, be a college football playoff participant, be a national championship contender. And listen, that's becoming increasingly more difficult as each day goes by in today's college football world. It's not like it used to be, man. You don't just get to be big bad Alabama or big bad Ohio State or Georgia or what have you and stockpile talent and hoard all of the guys and run away with this thing. You've got to navigate some waters now that you didn't used to have to. And so I think consistency plays a big role in that.
I agree. And if you really look at it and peel the layers back, Luke, it's really about a 2-year extension. He's bumping pay is like $750,000 more from the last year of his previous contract. So it's really not a lot. It just sounds like it. But I do think the stability, putting, some faith in this staff and let them do their thing and let them work. I think that's a big part of it. And then heck, the news comes out and the next thing you know, 2-3 days later, DeBoer and this staff have reeled in another 5-star quarterback.
Yeah, I tell you what, Elijah Haven's a heck of a football player, man. He is big. He is physical. Really a unique type of guy. And I've had to write about this a couple of times over the last week. I always get asked by our editors at ESPN.com. They like it when I give comps to guys, or who does he remind you of?
Right.
If you're relaying that to a fan, what could they envision in their eyes? From a stature standpoint, he looks like Joe Milton. Okay.
Yeah.
From an accuracy standpoint, he's a completely different player than Joe Milton. This is a guy that is consistent. He's efficient. Far more accurate in terms of ball placement. I think you're not going to have, I use that Joe Milton comp carefully because I actually didn't really think Joe Milton was a great player. I thought he was a guy with stature and physical tools, but he was never, ever a consistent player. And so if you're looking for a comp of a guy that you say, okay, well, who would he kind of maybe remind you of a little bit that's playing right now? I'd probably say Bryce Underwood a little bit at Michigan. Similar style, similar stature, but that's a huge haul, man. That's a big move, and you got to consider like Alabama right now has got young guys at the quarterback position that could be there for a bit. So for him to make that commitment tells you a little bit about his competitive temperament.
Yeah, and a little bit about the draw of Alabama's quarterback coaching.
No question,
as much as anything. Do you see anything out of spring practice at Auburn that either bumps them up a little bit in your estimation or knocks them back, Tom?
Well, what's interesting to me about that, a lot of the discussion about Auburn has been about, the quarterback position. And, and I had South Florida twice last year. And Byron Brown may not look pretty, but the end result's productive. And I think that, he's going to serve almost like a second coach on the field and in the meeting room. There's a lot of new faces there, right? And you lose some targets on the perimeter. You're installing a new offense. You're trying to get everybody integrated. And to have that one piece of the puzzle that you don't have to teach, that you don't have to bring along, that's already entrenched, already ingrained, that's going to be good for them. Another thing to add on this, and I would say this about everybody in college football, the spring game is the most irrelevant portion of the 15 days of spring football. The spring game is essentially this: the head coach telling both coordinators, keep it simple, don't put anything on tape, let's make this fast, and let's get the hell out of here without any injuries. That's all they want to do, right? Play our young guys, get them on tape a little bit more. But it's the previous 14 that matter, right? And that's not what we're all privy to. So when you see a spring game and you see this guy and that guy, I don't know if you guys remember going back this fall. I don't know why this popped into my head. You guys remember Jacob Eason, the former 5-star quarterback out of the state
Georgia.
of Washington? Went to Georgia, right?
Yeah.
He enrolls early, and he has this ridiculous spring game, right? And everybody's going, oh, my God, oh, my God. He never ended up being the starter there for more than a handful of games. Right. And so there's more to spring football than that game that we as the public often get a chance to get a glimpse of. And then, unfortunately, you take away knee-jerk reactions. I think that they're going to be fast-paced. They're going to be difficult to defend. The quarterback is such a dynamic runner that you're going to see more. You may see some more quarterback runs stylistically like we saw from Gene Chizik and Gus Malzahn when they had Cam Newton, where it's designed. Everybody knows it's going to be a part of the game plan, and it's difficult to defend. I think that would be my biggest takeaway from them, is they're going to look drastically different, in my opinion, offensively than they have maybe over the last 5 to 7 years.
So Alex Golesh has really put an emphasis on the running game. He's really stacked that running back room. Is that a good game plan in this day and age of college football?
Absolutely. I think, especially when you're an up-tempo, perceived to be spread offense, I think there's a false narrative out there that when you're a spread offense, you are a finesse football team. And it doesn't have to be that way. That's a mentality. That's instilled. That's coached. That's practiced. You develop that with your players. But I do think having the running back room be stocked, having the quarterback be a runner as part of that game plan is really important. And if you look at, it's interesting because college football, right, we go through cycles in the sport of football, right? And we've gone to this spread, we're going to spread you horizontally, vertically, we're going to make you play in space. And so what did everybody do on defense? Everybody got leaner, a bit smaller, more athletic. And you're seeing this in the NFL too. So what's now happening is everybody's starting to come back the other way now. And they're starting to get into more 11 and 12 personnel. They are starting to run the football between the tackles and use that lack of maybe size and girth against defenses that have been built to stop the spread, because that's what we've been in for the last 10, 15 years of college football. So yeah, I think it's a great tool to have. And I think it sends a message to what type of football team you're going to be as he's trying to build this thing in year one.
I want agreement or disagreement on 2 points, and they're related. The common perception that the SEC this year is Georgia and Texas, and the other perception that there's a vast chasm between those two and everybody else in the league, Tom.
I don't know if that's ever going to be true again because of the transfer portal. I think we've spread the talent so thin, Barry, that we have added competitive balance almost by accident, right? You all of these guys that were 2s and 3s and 4s at a Georgia or an Alabama or a Texas, you're not keeping those guys anymore. And they're transferring within conferences, and they're getting on the field and they're playing for other people and they're making other people better. When I think it's harder now than it's ever been to project college football teams, because you're having a 30, 40, 45 man roster turnover each and every year, a bunch of new faces. The silver lining in all of that is, at least now coming out of spring football, people know who their football team is. Nobody can leave.
Yeah.
So you come out of spring football, your young guys who maybe pout because they're not playing and would normally jump in the portal, they're not doing that. Now you get everybody into the summer and you get them into fall camp, and you're going to know a lot more about who you are. But you're still having to build a football team in a locker room more now than ever before. And so when you're sitting there and you're looking at a Georgia, and I do think Georgia's loaded, and they got the most components back at position by position of probably any team in college football. And then you've got Texas. But I also look around the league and I say, okay, well, looks like Auburn may have a quarterback, at least a proven guy that we've seen prove it on the field. John Mateer's back at Oklahoma. I think you got to look at the quarterback position across the league and say, okay, who's got a quarterback starting off that you can build the team around with all of the new faces that you're going to have to do it with. You're going to have different locker room dynamics. You're going to have guys that are learning on the fly, guys that don't arrive until the summer. It's a whole new world out there in terms of trying to project how good somebody's going to be. But I think there's more competitive balance across the league, and will continue to be. And that's nationwide. I just think that's the world we're living in right now.
Where do Auburn and Alabama stand in the NIL hierarchy?
Well, without being privy to specific numbers, I would say they're in the upper tier, the top, I would hope to say top 10 to 15 programs in the country in terms of available resources. And not just, dispersing the settlement, but, the auxiliary NIL, whether that's in-house, whether that's out-of-house, that comes, whether it's boosters or donors or what have you. What we really don't truly know is, because it's all supposed to be calculated, right? It's all supposed to be tabulated and policed, and these deals have to be approved. I mean, give me a break. I mean, for crying out loud. I mean, this is there are so many different ways to go about this, and we all know in the southeastern portion of this country how important football is and how important winning is. And we've seen, whether it's been an Ole Miss, we've seen whether it's been an Indiana, we've watched teams that you would say, well, they could never compete with Alabama, or they could never compete with Ohio State. Now they are, because they can compete financially. So, and it all depends on, what do you want to be as a university? Because you have to make that decision. You have to sit there and say, okay, do we want to be 7-5, or do we want to be 10-2, 11-1, and be a college football playoff team? And there's a direct correlation between the resources that you afford your program on whether or not you're going to be one or the other.
Yep.
So will we go to a 2014 playoff? That seems to be where the wind's blowing.
It really does. I think I was talking with Mark Richt about this, and, he actually brought up the number of 32 teams, and not because he thinks 32 teams are playoff caliber, but he's looking at it from the perspective of, how do you salvage and save all of the bowl games that, quote unquote, nobody seems to care about now, that players seem to opt out of, all of those sorts of things. Well, one way to do it is to incorporate it into the playoff system and dangle that carrot that if you go to the Gasparilla Bowl, okay, or, you go to the Poland Weed Eaters Bowl, I don't even think it's called that anymore, you have an opportunity to advance, right? So now all of a sudden you make those games attractive, and you still have your bowl sponsorship. I think that, it's an interesting take. When I started hearing Coach talk about it, it got me thinking a little bit. I'm fine with more teams. I think we all have to acknowledge, guys, that this isn't about anything other than money. This is about numbers starting with a B, right? And that's why it went from 4 to 12. What we saw last year, though, and it was an unfortunate set of circumstances, and it was directly related to how the regular season played out, particularly with Miami and Notre Dame and that whole debate. And then what ended up happening in the ACC championship game. So now all of a sudden you have 2 group of 5 programs in the college football playoff, which I don't think anybody ever really envisioned would actually happen. And then it did. But what we have to do is, if you're going to sit there and have a moniker that this is the 12 best teams in the country, you can't have 2 group of 5 teams in the college football playoff. And I'm all for the group of 5. I'm all for them having an opportunity to play in. But to sit there and say that James Madison and Tulane were better football teams than Notre Dame, Texas, or BYU is laughable. And so we're not talking about the 12 best teams. So if you expand, yes, you have more inclusion, but are we trading excellence for inclusion? I think you'll eventually get the excellence when you start to get down to 6, 8, 10 teams. But it's about opportunity. It's about money. To me, the more football, the better. But the one thing that would have to happen, guys, is you're talking about completely reinventing the annual calendar in terms of how football works. When we start the season, the amount of bye weeks we're going to permit, when you would end the season, how does signing day fit into that? Do you get rid of conference championship games? You look at the FCS model, how they've gone about doing this, when they start, when they end, how they've designed that thing that's worked very, very well for years and years and years. So the devil's always in the details, as we say.
Right. Yeah.
And I think that's what's got to get ironed out first.
Well, that's one of the reasons why we love having you on, is getting into the details of it all. Good luck with the photos inside the house today.
Hey, and all your work, UFL and, of course, ACC Network, and so many ways for us to check you out. We always appreciate it, Lugs. We look forward to hooking back up with you this football season and get your weekly recaps with us.
All right. Sounds great, guys. Always enjoy it. Have a great rest of the week.
You too, buddy. Thank you so much. Great insight from Tom Luganbill, ESPN. He'll be back with us during the football season. I know we're a little pressed for time, but we got to do the dog when we get back.
Yes.
Phantom's Daily Dog. Already been some reference on the River Region Straw chat line about it. We're about to reveal what happened and what is going to happen tonight.
Plus the Gurn Jr. Victoryland 777 topic wheel coming up. It's Longshore and McKnight in association with Yellowhammer News, presented by Bud Light.
The Montgomery Regional Airport is getting better the more you use it. MGM offers multiple nonstop daily flights to Atlanta, Charlotte, Dallas-Fort Worth, and Washington's Reagan National Airport via Delta and American Airlines. And beginning this April, MGM will offer daily nonstop flights to Houston's Intercontinental Airport via United Airlines. All of these cities offer easy connections to destinations all over the country and all over the world. Make travel more cost-effective and less stressful when you utilize your Montgomery Regional Airport. MGM, you can get there from here.
Don't miss your chance to win big at Victoryland Casino. Play the latest, hottest, most exciting games around with fun bonuses and big jackpots. Don't miss out on your free play. Stop by Player Rewards today and check out this month's exciting free play promotions. Come see why our players keep coming back. You'll have more fun at Victoryland Casino, where you can be a winner too. Victoryland Casino, located off I-85 exit 22, Shorter, Alabama. Must be 21 or older.
Okay, here it is. Folks have been asking. Let's get right to it. It is the Phantom's Daily Dog. And a little discussion, a little talk, a little breakdown of what happened last night. It was the Oklahoma City Thunder, a team that most people believe is the best in the NBA. They won the series last night, Barry. They closed out the Phoenix Suns.
Yeah, the Suns, well, they didn't win a game. Didn't win. 0-4, swept in a 4-game series by the Thunder, who I do believe is the best team in the NBA. And the Thunder closed it out comfortably.
Oh, yeah.
131 to 122 in Game 4. Suns are done. Off into the sunset. Thunder move on with a comfortable, authoritative 9-point win.
Very important. Yeah.
9-point win.
You're right. You're right about that, Barry. I will say this is an interesting little stat here. At one point in time, Oklahoma City only had a 46.2% chance of covering at one point of the game last night. Just, do that with what you want. But Phoenix, the home team, catching 11.5 last night, Barry, did not win one single quarter. If you look at the quarter-by-quarter breakdown, Oklahoma City, they tied the third quarter, both scoring 31 points. But OKC scored more points in the other three quarters than Phoenix did. There again, for whatever that's worth. But at the end of the day, Barry, and I'm trying to find what the last shot was. Tobias was talking about it. Oh, by the way, 17,071 people attended the game last night, too.
Oh, yeah.
Yeah, if you're interested in that.
I remember that from Tobias.
Yeah.
Yeah, he was lamenting a last-second shot, not with, the game on the line or anything like that, but in a certain sense, the game was on the line.
It was, and Barry, here's the deal. Just to let you know, Phoenix covered the spread. They were an 11.5-point underdog at home. They lost by 9.
Yeah.
That is a cover in my book, and just about everybody else's for that matter. But I'm looking here.
Said, I should have listened to the Phantom. Phoenix scored a, by the way, bucket at the end, and I lost my bet.
So here is the deal.
All right.
With, let's see. Oklahoma City, with 3.3 seconds left in the game, turned the ball over. That could have been huge. That could have been by the way, 3.
Yeah.
But it wasn't. Then Phoenix gets the ball, jacks up a 3 from 32 feet, doesn't go in. Hate it for them. But they did cover the game. That huge turnover, got to think that had a lot to do with it. Maybe that's what Tobias is talking about. So big cover last night. Hate it that the Sun season is over.
Right.
Really don't, but hey, it is. So
okay,
tonight,
here we go. Yep.
Here's what we got tonight, Barry. We're going back to a venue in which we've been successful within the last week.
Cash's faux pas. No, okay, all right.
We're going back to Madison Square Garden, where the Hawks and the Knicks are tied up 2 games apiece. This is a big one here, Billy.
Eastern first round, game 5. Madison Square Garden, NBC, Peacock, 7 o'clock tip.
We're going to take the Atlanta Hawks once again on the road in New York, catching 6.5 against the Knicks tonight in a game they could possibly win.
Yes.
But we think they can definitely cover the 6.5. There you have it. The Hawks plus the 6.5.
Yeah, we were schlepping around a little bit, waiting to see the wheel in the green room. They say it's ready.
Yeah.
That's the Phantom's Daily Dog. Let's go straight to the Gurn Jr. Victor. Oh, there it was, down there at the bottom, underneath. Okay. Victoryland 777 Casino, exit 22, I-85, Shorter, Alabama. UFL. AJ McCarron is not doing well. Diego Pavia, Pavia is got a mini camp invite from the Baltimore Ravens.
Mini camp invite. Okay.
And somebody posted on Twitter, they think that it's shameful that Pavia got invited to the Ravens mini camp and not their full-sized camp. Get it? He's only like 5'9". So
true.
But UFL for Pavia? I don't even think he's going to play in the UFL.
I don't
like the guy. I do. Diego needs to move on and use his 7 years in college for a gainful career in the private sector.
I think
there's nothing wrong with that. I've got a gainful career in the private sector. So,
to me, Barry, Pavia is a guy that would be a good pitch man for an offshore gambling site.
Yeah, he's Manziel-esque.
Yeah.
Give him a liquor sponsorship.
Let
him say a little something about, I don't know.
Maybe a spokesman for these Indian casinos somewhere. I mean, there's a Alabama quarterback that's doing that right now for one of them over in Mississippi. Pavia could do that.
Yep. And he's in his football career. He's gone about as far as he can go. Don't go to Canada, Diego. Don't.
All right, let's see what else we got going on here. Gurn, look at those colors, man. I like that deep purple. By myself.
That's an Eric Carmen song. Yeah. Late great Eric Carmen.
Eric Carmen.
Don't wanna be.
Yeah.
Vinnie Maury ran his first ever marathon. Oh, I hate that. 25-year-old amateur without a coach or a shoe deal. 2 hours, 5 minutes, 54 seconds at a marathon in Toledo, Ohio.
This guy was booking.
I hate guys like that who just come out, hey, is this good? Yeah. Am I doing a fourth fastest marathoner in U.S. history? Doesn't have a coach, doesn't have a shoe deal. He just buys his own shoes and everything. Lives with his parents and works part-time. Those are guys like, hey, I never played golf. Let me get out there. Well, how'd you do? Well, I shot 75 my first one, and I'm thinking, I hate guys like that.
What do you need a running coach for? Just go as fast as you can.
No, man, you've got to run intervals. You've got to have, you've got to have, build up your endurance and all that kind of stuff. Not just, that's why all those Kenyans,
go for it.
That's why it's frustrating. They just go, they just run. Yep. I mean, they'll run in the meadows and on the plains and stuff.
Well, they're outrunning leopards and tigers and stuff. You kidding me? Man,
yeah.
I'll be running fast too.
There's a very good Godfrey Cambridge joke about that. Well, what am I doing in Cleveland then? Yeah. All right. Back at it. Here we go.
Yep. Let's see where it lands. It's looking like the blue, maybe?
Yeah. No, better watch out.
Better watch out.
Better not cry. All right.
See what we got.
Mount Juliet, Tennessee, hometown of Troy sports quarterback, Troy football quarterback.
What we got here? What kind of animal is this?
Levi Brown. An emu?
Really? They're filming a Liberty Mutual commercial. Yeah.
Oh, those are irritating.
They are very irritating.
Those are irritating commercials.
Yeah, I don't want to buy insurance. It's so irritating.
Yeah, okay. An emu in the dark. She says, what am I going to do? Called 911. She got chased by the emu.
Wow.
I don't know if that's dangerous or whatever, but I'd kind of like to see
I don't want to get chased by that.
Yeah.
No way.
The female emu named Picasso.
Interesting name.
Yeah. Okay. Yeah.
Okay.
There you go. That's a nice picture. I don't take a good picture sometimes. Picasso, that's a good one. And they're not scenic. No. All right.
What do we got?
What have we got here?
Let's see what we got. We're going to spin some more here. Three to go. Yeah. Yellow, blue, and red is what's left on the panel. Let's see what we got. Going to be red.
Roy Boy, Rookie of the Year. Closest Rookie of the Year race in years.
Okay.
They both played in college last year on the same team, played for Duke, didn't make the championship, didn't win the championship. Cooper Flagg and Con Kneppel. Kneppel set a rookie record for number of three-pointers playing for John, a very good up-and-coming Charlotte Hornets team.
That's true. Yep, that's right.
Yep. Cooper Flagg is the man. He's with the Mavericks, averaged 21 points a game. Very, very close. How in the world do those two guys play for Duke and Duke doesn't win the championship last year?
It's kind of like having two guys picked in the first 12 of the first round of the NFL draft and you don't win the national title. Kind of makes you wonder.
Had Brooks and Andrews and Krebs.
How
did they ever lose a game?
All right, two more to go. Let's spin away. Blue and red is what's left. That usually is the case. Computer seems to love those two colors, I see. And it's going to land on Rah-Rah Raggy.
Ruh-Roh Raggy. This is a Scooby-Doo reference. The Detroit Pistons are stinking in the playoffs again against an 8-seed Orlando Magic team. And the Magic is taking it to them big time. The Magic are now one win away from becoming just the 7th number 8 seed to upset a number 1 seed in the NBA playoffs since the format expanded in 1984. The They're playing well. Magic are good. Pistons that were the best team in the conference.
Yeah.
But when it comes to the playoffs, man, they have historically, ever since, the Motor City Bad Boys, Mahorn, John Sally, Bill Laimbeer, they've been not that good. So, yeah, here's the deal. They're not going to win the series.
No.
Magic are not going to lose that series. And everybody's going to be screaming at the Pistons. They're in trouble.
They are.
Big trouble.
This Orlando team is impressive. I got to tell you, got to give them a little credit.
Why in the world they ended up being a number 8 seed? They should have had a better year than they had because they look good to me.
Well, they might be an example of a team that's maybe turned it up a tad since the postseason's gotten here.
Yes.
Just saying. All right, one more to go. Got to spin it to make it official. It's going to be Solid Celebration. And let's see what we got.
Carson Hocevar.
Where's the wreck? Let me see the big wreck here.
No, this ain't the one.
That's a spin out.
That's right. Yeah. Oh no, that was a celebration spin out. The wreck was the big thing about the whole deal,
which is usually the case.
Yeah, I mean, so they had a very limited field at the very end. I think,
trouble.
And Hocevar won it. Had a big old spin out. He says he's either going to get fired or he's going to get fined. I mean, he's either going to get fined or he's going to get fired by his team. Yeah.
How does he drive like
safe. That ain't safe, Carson. Come on, man.
What the heck's he doing? Can't drive like that.
Yeah, so there you go.
Runaway car.
That's a good one.
That is a good one.
We may have had busier Longshore and McKnights. I can't remember when, though.
Well, I'll tell you,
busy today.
It has been a lot going on. Brian Matthews, AuburnSports.com. Travis Ryer on YouTube talking Tide. Tom Luganville, ESPN college football analyst. But tomorrow, we're not stopping. With C.J. Duncan from Yellowhammer News and Connor O'Gara from the OG Kickoff going to join us tomorrow.
Yep. I feel like Fred Sanford talking to my wife. I'm coming to see you, honey. I'll be back in the studio tomorrow for the first time in a week. For all of our guests and for Gurn Jr., John Longshore, Barry McKnight. It's Longshore and McKnight in association with Yellowhammer News presented by Bud Light.